Welcome to this introductory video on LabArchives Inventory. LabArchives Inventory is a cloud-based solution that supports the organization, management, and tracking of inventory items used within a lab, both lab-created and vendor-supplied. It was designed to make it easier to manage the workflows surrounding organizing and finding inventory items, the order request process, and tracking inventory for lab managers and lab members. To that end, there are two user roles in LabArchives Inventory, the lab manager role and the lab member role. You may have as many people with the lab manager role or the lab member role as you wish. People with the lab manager role may or may not have that title in real life, but they are the ones who have the responsibility for ordering inventory, tracking it, and storage. Lab members may be researchers, grad students, postdocs, and so forth. Both of these user roles can search, add items to inventory, request items, and update inventory. Lab managers have additional privileges in inventory. They can manage the data, users, and settings, and manage all the steps of the ordering workflow. Let's take a look at inventory itself. There are three main components in inventory: the inventory page, where you can search, view, and add inventory items; the orders page, where you can request items and view the status of inventory items that have been requested; and the lab management tool. Note that only users with the role of lab manager can access the lab management tool. Let's start here. On the lab management page, we provide you with several tools. There are two important tools for organizing information, then a tool for adding users and assigning roles. You can add vendor information, and we have some settings, including the ability to set an automatic approval level when an item is below a certain monetary value. Let's take a look at inventory types. All inventory items in LabArchives Inventory have the same standard fields. But if you would like to add additional fields of information on items, you'll want to use inventory types. We provide you with 9 default types, and each type has its own specific fields that are unique to that type. You can add your own inventory types by clicking Add New Type. Likewise, if one of the types that are listed here is not something your lab uses, you can click Delete and delete that type. Further, if you are going to use one of the default types, you can modify the information by adding additional fields, or editing an existing field, or deleting an existing field. All of this is highly customizable. All the changes that you make here will be available to your users within the application. And even more importantly, they will be available on the import template that you can download to use to import information from spreadsheets. This is a handy way to get started and populate your inventory with a great deal of existing information. The Storage tab allows you to set up storage locations in your lab. When you first arrive, it will be blank. Simply click on Add New Location to start building this information out. Once you've added a location, you can click on the pencil to edit it and add more information. This allows you to start building a hierarchical representation of your storage locations in the lab. Let's now take a look at the inventory page. When you first come into inventory, this will be empty, but you're going to see changes reflected by your customizations right away over here in the filters. If you have added any inventory types or deleted inventory types, those changes will be reflected here. Likewise, the storage locations you set up will be reflected here. To start adding inventory items, we give you two options. The first is the import template. This is a handy way to get started when you are going to be bringing in information that currently exists on spreadsheets. Simply click Import Items, follow the instructions. Again, we highly recommend you review the inventory types and make changes there, as those customizations will be reflected in the template that you download. Click Next, and then you'll see the button to download the template. There are important instructions here that we recommend reviewing. You cannot make any changes to the template, no deletions, additions, or changes to the column names or order. Once you've populated the template, simply drag and drop it here, and then you'll be able to upload the information. Thereafter, you may want to begin adding items individually during the regular course of the lab work. On the Add Inventory Type page, you will see the standard fields here along the left-hand side. One of the first things you'll want to do is to select the inventory type. If you've added any custom types, you'll see them on this list. When you select the inventory type for the item you're adding, you will see those specific special fields that you have added or that are currently provided. In addition to adding all the information about the item, you can set notifications regarding this particular item so that the lab manager can receive an email notification when an item's expiration date is approaching or when an item's quantity drops below a certain level. Once you've added an item into inventory, it will look like this. We summarize that information you've just added. All the standard fields are displayed on the first tab, including all the information you've added with regard to location. For the specific inventory type, you'll see those fields on the Detail tab. Again, if you've created custom fields for a specific type, you'll see those reflected here. In the course of adding the item, if you've added an attachment, you'll see that on the Attachments tab, such as the safety sheet. For every item that's added into inventory, we also create a label. We will create a label that includes information about the item and a QR code. Presently, we support a Dymo Label Writer 450 and a cryo label format. You can print out these labels and affix this information to a tube, which allows you then later on to use a mobile device, log into inventory on the browser of your mobile device, scan this QR code, and be able to pull up all the information that you see here. In addition to the detailed information, we also have history on every single item that's added to inventory. It's rich history that starts when the item was created and records all the times that the item was used or its location was moved and who made those changes. In addition, you can take actions on this inventory item that you've pulled up. Most notably, you can indicate that you're going to be using it. Click on Use Now and say how many items you'll be using and simply save, and it will deduct the amount you've specified. If you want to link this over to your notebook, simply copy to clipboard, access the notebook, and you can paste that information into a rich text entry as I've done here. What's important to note is there is going to be a link back to that inventory item. Even when that inventory item is depleted and it is out of stock, it will not be deleted, and this link will be preserved. So at any time when you're reviewing your protocols or your information here in the notebook, you'll be able to jump back over to view that detailed information. If you have depleted this item or it's running low, you can go straight from this screen to request a reorder. Likewise, you can jump over to the inventory page, and for any item you see here, you can click on reorder. Clicking on reorder will open the order request form. Because we're reordering something we already have, most of the fields will be populated. The requester can also select to receive status update emails whenever the status of the request is changed. They will also receive updates in-app from the notifications tool. On the Orders tab, this is where the lab manager can start managing these orders, or someone can request an item, perhaps that's not been in stock before. Presently, I have filtered the items on my orders page to just look at those items that have been requested. Once an item is requested, I have the option as a lab manager to approve that. And I can send a note. Once I've got my list of approved items, I've basically got my shopping list. I simply click Export Orders, and then I can export that to put that information into the procurement system used by my institution. Once that's been placed, I can change the status to say that it's now been ordered and how much I have ordered. And the order information is now updated so that the requester can see this information. When the package of items are finally delivered to the lab, either requester or a lab manager can then mark those received items as received. We can indicate how much has been received and where it was and where we're going to be storing this new item that just arrived. Even if this is replacing some information or lab materials that we've had previously that have now depleted, this will add a brand new record into the system. As your inventory grows, you'll want to be using the filters to zero in on specific types of inventory items, or use location information to zero in on specific locations, perhaps for a physical reconciliation, or to provide a report about specific items that you've had. Even if an item is depleted, it's still included. Simply click on the Include Out of Stock item, Out of Stock filter, and then you can view items that were in this freezer or certain type of inventory item. LabArchives Inventory makes it easier to keep track of items and let you get away from spreadsheets, sticky notes, and whiteboards. For more information, visit us at labarchives.com/inventory or contact the LabArchives support team at support@labarchives.com.